They might be self-aware.
When AI's on the loose and bots write the news, we break the code to show you every clue. Two X-Tech pros on the mic, no hype, just truth. Hunter and Daniel cutting through the spoof. They might be self-aware, are we ready yet? Plug into the frenzy, no filter or regret. They might be self-aware, the future's in our hands. Join the ride each Monday, let's decode the plans. Skip the sermon, grab the insights. From radiant promise to shadowed nights. AI savior or harbinger will fight.
Hunter.
In the labyrinth of code we bring the
Yo!
light.
Hunter! I feel like I'm shouting across the club at you.
Self-aware.
Was that Suno?
No, ElevenLabs, they came out with their music generator now.
Really? Everyone's got a
Yeah.
music generator now.
Yeah, it is becoming table stakes, although I do think the ElevenLabs one there's like a higher quality. Like it sounds a little bit more, it's not there yet, but it sounds a little bit more like a studio, professional, polished. The fidelity seems higher to me than the last time I tried Suno, although I think Suno does have another point release since the last time I tried it.
When it comes to Chatbot, I think OpenAI has pretty much the mind share out there. You think of ChatGPT when you think of a large language model based chatbot. That's just the first one that comes to mind. Even me, who absolutely loves Anthropic and their models, and there's a bunch of other ones out there. Some people love Grok, some people love Mistral, some people love this or that. Everyone thinks of OpenAI first. When it comes to voice cloning, there's local things that you can do. There's a few different players in the game out there of like web-based.
Players.
ElevenLabs is the one everyone thinks of first, right? They're the high quality ones that you go to first.
Yes, they are the OpenAI of voice models.
I didn't really think of them at all for music, I guess because they didn't have a music model until very recently, but that did sound pretty polished.
It did. They've been releasing lots of things recently. So just a few of their things that are really good. So they have probably the absolute best if you have a voice and you want to get it transcribed, especially if it's multiple speakers. Theirs is way above everyone else in the competition. It's also extremely expensive to use.
Yeah, that's the problem is if you've got a lot of stuff that you want to transcribe, you generally want it to also be really cheap and really fast and really good, which is, that's the fun triangle you're trying to choose one.
Yes, but theirs is the best for that. They have a really good sound effects generator. Whatever random sound effect you want, type it in, they'll generate it for you, and they generate a bunch of different variations. So if you're doing any kind of media editing and need sound effects, they have the best voice cloners.
We were talking about putting people out of jobs a couple of episodes ago. So the Hanna-Barbera guy taking a big sheet of metal going like back and forth, that guy's out of a job now is what you're saying.
He's gone. The best voice cloning, they've got two different versions of voice cloning. One's like a really quick one where you can just give it, 30 seconds of your voice and you get something that's pretty good. But they also have a second tier, which they call the professional voice cloning. You need something that's super polished. And then their bread and butter is, of course, taking text and transcribing it to audio. And they also have tools if you're trying to do something more performative and you want different voices and you have like kind of like a full script and go back and forth. And they just released a new update for that. This is just becoming an ad for ElevenLabs. I'm sorry, but it is really cool tech.
They're good.
So where you can insert the emotion behind different things. You can really guide the performances.
Right. They were not the first to that game, but I think they've done a good job of integrating it where you can like add little tags of like, do this in a scared voice, do this one with lust behind it. And then there's a bunch of people who are just lust.
They also have, and other people have this too, but theirs is really great where, so you pick out an AI voice that you like and they've got a monstrous library of voices. Then you can record yourself performing whatever it is that you want to be done in that voice. And they will capture the cadence, the emotion, the ups and downs. And if I'm like way into editing, this voice will probably be changing around in lots of different AI voices.
Let's see how much free time Hunter had this week.
Yeah, probably not. You probably just hear.
They'll make for some good YouTube shorts. Subscribe.
But yeah, they're their tool set really is barred. Oh, we forgot the biggest one, and I think you've played with this as well. Their whole conversational AI. No, the conversation where you can stand up an AI agent that you can have a conversation with, leveraging these tools. What was that called? The crazy.
Well, there was Sesame, which had a really, really good voice to voice, but you're talking about
hackathon project that was disgusting. What was it?
Gurbling, the little goblin.
Yes, Gurbling.
Was it Gurbling?
Wasn't that ElevenLabs project?
It was ElevenLabs. So right, there was a conversational model that you can hook up to that.
Yeah,
and one that I really like, just because like I studied linguistics undergrad, and I really like the idea of, from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, more super timely references from us. There's the Babelfish that would like go in here and translate things for you. ElevenLabs, and presumably some of the others out there as well, have a voice translation, like take and depending on how much free time Hunter had here, maybe there's subtitles, but I'm actually speaking in Spanish right now. You can take your voice or someone else's voice and then just like translate that as you go. When it comes to like movie making, for example, and I think we talked about this like 24 episodes ago. And I don't remember the specifics anymore. It was like a Swedish film where the actors had all explicitly given their permission to say, take my voice, my acting, whatever, in this language, and then with the digital overlay for the face, and then also using like whatever sound-based thing they were doing, translate the language. And used, let's call it appropriately, I think that is an extremely powerful tool. If I want to be the voice of the company, I'm whenever you pick up the phone, like, for English, press 1, para español, oprime el dos. To have that, but me not have to know enough Spanish to say that, or to, have an entire phone tree or phone agent that just speaks multiple languages, but is based off of your voice or your pre-recordings. I think that's a very cool idea. I really, really like that.
La computadora.
Sí. Now, for a long time, Google Translate, like just on your phone, has done a very good job of it can listen to someone and then like repeat that into English to you and then back and forth. But I like the idea of if you've got like a headphones on or earbud in, or even just through the phone in front of you, that it could do that voice cloning. And like, I'm talking to someone who speaks only German. I'm in Germany. I don't speak any German. I used to. I don't really anymore. And like, it would just sound like that person, but instead of them speaking in German, it would be them speaking in English to me. I think that'd be very cool.
Tried any of the local models for generating music? Because I know there are a couple out there.
For music, I haven't. I've seen a couple of them. I've seen some of the output of it, but I haven't bothered setting it up myself because they're just like clearly way behind right now.
You don't try every large language model that gets released, Daniel? I thought that was your thing. Aren't you a professional?
It was like just a couple of days ago, there were 3 major releases, Hunter. I have a day job and kids.
It was like within
There's
15
only
minutes.
so many of these things that I can try out. There's only so many of these things, and my goodness, there are a lot of them. I do try to stay on top of like what people are saying about them, where they are on the leaderboards. If we see the number of downloads per month drop off a cliff because people realized it wasn't very good.
Later today, yeah. So it is mind-numbing how many releases coming out. This has been, monstrous week. Bam, 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 bam. And there's a rumor that strong rumor that later today GPT-5 will be released. But I was wondering this morning, thinking about it. Look, is there anything? Let's focus on the chat experience. Is there anything that it could do that would make you feel like, oh wow.
Wow. Let's hear your best Owen Wilson. Wow. You knew where I was going before I even said it.
I did.
No. When it comes to...
That's what I was...
Well, right. GPT-4o, Gemini just came out with 4.1 for Opus, which is supposed to be as big of a jump as from 3.7 to 4. For most of you, that might not mean anything. To me, it means a lot. Wow. A chat model, just it being chat, just a thing to chat to without any access to the rest of the world. It's good enough. It's good enough. We're way into, the video games going from like a SNES to Nintendo 64 to GameCube to what, like, I'm just using Nintendo consoles here for some reason, but the idea is like the graphical fidelity got so much better every iteration. You could obviously tell. And now, like, okay, I've got a PS5 and a PS4, and like I have a 4K TV, but unless I'm sitting really close to it, for the really AAA type games, of which there are only so many that are really trying to push the graphical capabilities of these different consoles, I can't tell the difference. There are Nintendo Switch games that look better than some other games on much more powerful consoles. When that same sort of metaphor is applied to the large language model game, you could say that they tend to hallucinate more or less, or they tend to have a larger breadth of knowledge. There are benchmarks out there that are like, how good of a software engineer would this be? How good is it at question and answering of like these specific kinds of questions? How good is it at this or this or this? There's medical benchmarks and like legal benchmarks. There's all kinds of benchmarks out there. And those frontiers keep getting pushed. But for like 99% of what most people are usually going to be talking to these things about, no.
Yeah. Every release that comes out now, they bring out the benchmarks. Oh, this benchmark, and look at our last model, and it scored a 93.2, and this model, which is incredible, now scores a 94.7. And first off, we all know they're training on these benchmarks. So like, I don't know what I care.
Most of the benchmarks don't mean nearly as much as they did when they first came out, and so we have to.
But they're all these tiny. It's like, oh, we went up 3 percentage points, and I understand that that's really hard and it's really significant from a technical side. But from an end user perspective, I don't know that I notice, and it's more just a feeling, and I don't even know that I'm actually like, am I feeling this? Has it actually gotten substantially better?
Absolutely.
It's so subjective.
And the subjectivity is barely even based on the act, that's subjectivity for you. It's not based on the quality of the output. It's really more the vibe of like, oh, I liked the output from this model versus this model better, which has so much less to do with like the factuality and more to do with like the way that someone likes being talked to at this point. That's not like better models, I guess you could say, in terms of like what is going to be more broadly appealing to people. I don't think GPT-5 is going to push benchmarks that much forward. It will, because otherwise they wouldn't be releasing, here's this big new model. Of course it has to do better on X, Y, and Z benchmarks. But that's not what they're going to tell. I am absolutely certain that because, and we've been talking a bunch about this through all of 2025 so far, Agentic, this is the year of the agent. I really think that GPT-5 is not going to be shown as just the chatbot aspect of it. It's not just a big fancy large language model, though they're going to talk about that, and they'll talk about safety, and they'll talk about this, and and here's the federal government is now going to maybe have access to it for $1, and like there's all these other things. It's going to be, and here's the 50 cool things that it can do that aren't just talk to it.
Yeah, it's about the
Claude
application
Code
layer.
is an app on your computer, right? It's that layer of I can read your emails and then do something about them. I can look at your calendar and add events. I can book you a flight. We were just talking about that the other day. I can do this. I can do that. And I think GPT-5 is not going to be pushing benchmarks forward. It's going to be pushing capabilities forward, which is an entirely different thing. And it has so much less to do with the brain and much more to do with the tooling.
The application layer. And then I guess that's where their tuning of the model to be able to call all of these different tool sets, that agentic part that could enable some of these new applications or substantially improve them.
Right. When it came to taking all of the text on the internet the first time around for the first large language models, and when I say first, I really mean the first couple of years of it, it's just text. And you have a bunch of examples of how you're supposed to respond for the reinforcement learning through human feedback. But tool calling came later, and you had to have entirely new data sets of like, here's the thought, here's the text of what it looks like of, I must now call a tool by this name because I know I have these 5 tools available to me. Calculator. Hey, calculator tool, here is the input, give me the output, something like that. And we've seen evolutions of that with like the Model Context Protocol, MCP servers of, hey, external API to a weather service. I need to know about, I keep using Schenectady because it's a very funny name. I'm sorry to anyone listening from Schenectady. I don't even know what state it's in. Hey, what's the weather in Schenectady today? Like, these are tool uses. That's not something a large language model inherently knows. My daughter this morning, it's obviously raining outside. And she said, like, she just goes up to the Google Home. Google, is it cloudy out? I'm like, okay, one, you have to say, hey, Google. And two, just look outside. And like, it has to call external tools for that. A large language model itself doesn't know what's going on today.
I think the biggest thing that they could announce with it would be the first version of their assistant, which we know they're working on because they've talked about it. It's something that Sam often brings up, this sort of like true assistant that's like a human that you're interacting with all the time. And
right.
So and it needs to be in Scarlett Johansson's voice. That's an important qualifier for me. But it says, "Hey Hunter, what can I help you with today? What's going on?" And I could just say, "Oh yeah, can you check? Is Daniel still good to start recording on time, or is he running a little bit late? Because I need to check on something."
Right.
Also,
I'll check with him. Is the intent here of like
correct.
That's where you really have assistance.
I'll check with him. Also, I have an exterminator coming later today, and I got an email from them saying they're only going to scan or spray the outside. Can you call them and just verify they're going to come in the house and actually do the inside as well? Oh yeah, I'll take care of that. Yeah, and do I have any packages arriving today? Can you check my email and see? I think there were a couple of things I ordered. I'm just wondering, is anything supposed to arrive today?
Which are in each of those individual things not that hard for a person to do, but takes time and is the kind of thing that you'd like to sort of mentally offload, right?
I would, and I could get value from it, and I'm okay that it's not great. I want to see it start, right? And I'm sure it has started internal, and obviously lots of other companies are working on similar things. But I'd love to see OpenAI's current version of it. I'd love it to feel pretty good because we were talking about ElevenLabs voice stuff. I think actually OpenAI has the best sort of one-to-one, like I'm having a real conversation with the person and it feeling like a real conversation in voice.
Very good job.
They just don't expose as much of that for external partners integrating, whereas ElevenLabs is all about you build applications on top of it. But if that came out from an application standpoint, I might feel like, okay. And it was good. It was like, whoa, this is pretty good. We've done something here, folks. But my assumption is I'm not gonna feel it. They're gonna GPT-5. Oh, look at the benchmark score. Oh, you have it now. And there's there's still 7 of them. GPT-5 Mini, GPT-5
Nano.
There's like a fast Nano, GPT-5
Pro. I don't know.
Lovely.
Here's the $300 a month version of it. Buy now. If they're smart, of course they are. If I were them, what I would be doing is trying to get in front of Amazon, Google, and Apple when it comes to Alexa, Google Home, and Siri. Siri, famously not great, continues to be not great. Apple keeps not investing in it. We'll maybe talk a little bit later about how they're possibly changing their tune on that, but hasn't ever really been at the forefront there. There is space to be the leader of, we've got this hardware partner. You can put an OpenAI, an AI in your home, and it's immediately integrated, and it has integrations through Home Assistant and Z-Wave and whatever, and this and that and the other thing. And you can start having conversations with your locks and your doorbells and your lights and your toaster and your this and your that and your dryer and washer. Like, there are a lot of different home automation things out there, but there's not one in my mind of that ElevenLabs or the OpenAI of like, this is obviously the one that you go for. I think somebody, whether it be OpenAI or otherwise, is going to say, we agentified the absolute snot out of everything. We have an official MCP server that we've been working on in the background with 50, 100, 3,000 of the largest manufacturers of home smarts stuff. Here's the speaker. Put it in your home, $30 a month. Well, whatever the $100 a month it is, and you've got your whole everything taken care of.
Well, that's the Johnny Ive hardware device, but they've said that's not coming out. I think it's not even next year. It's like the beginning of the following year when their first hardware device will come out. So that's not.
And OpenAI is known, I think, long enough to say we can get in front of the competition. If it isn't OpenAI, if it isn't Johnny Ive, if it isn't somebody, someone's going to come out with that Omni large language model powered device that can talk to all your stuff.
The only thing we know for sure is that it will be made out of aluminum. Johnny Ive's favorite material.
That does have to be, though, like the future of the actual assistant, the thing that can interact with the world around you. Because, again, you could say like, oh, it scores 2% better on math or 1.017% better at coding, this or that. And like, sure, we have gotten to a point where from like a software engineering, whatever benchmark perspective, these things continue to get more and more about as good as a junior engineer is. And there will be some breakthroughs of I still have strong thoughts of it's not going to fully replace engineers until it can be fully integrated into a stack of talking back and forth with stakeholders and so on. And so you need to have that fully agentic, I'm plugged into your entire ecosystem. I've got Slack, I've got Teams, I've got email, I can surf the web. A bunch of them can already kind of surf the web. But like pushing that forward a bunch more, that's the frontier right now. The frontier isn't a benchmark of humanity's last exam went 0.01% up, which is a bunch of tough questions. But like large language models, for the most part, don't need to be without access to tools trying to solve super hard like physics problems, I don't think.
I do now officially work with an AI engineer, Devin. Devin has been hired by the company where I work and is fully onboarded. You can talk to it in Devin.ai. You can talk to it in Slack.
Okay, great. So you did come back to Devin.
Yes, you can assign tickets to it. We use a Linear as our system for managing developer tickets. And I think it also has a Jira integration, but
I've never even heard of them.
Oh, dude. Linear.
Is it like Jira, but
better?
Not? Is it like Monday, but not? Is it like Trello, but not?
It's better. They have a good free tier, too, if you want to play with it.
Linear it is.
Yeah.
This podcast brought to you by Linear.
So anyways, you can create a developer ticket, describing a task you want done, and I can assign it to an engineer on the team, or I can assign it to Devin. Devin, when you
and these have to be well like decomposed tasks. Like here's one task, and we've got like acceptance criteria. Or are you just saying like, I don't know, look, we need a new button that does whatever on the front end?
This will expand. Right now, we're only giving Devin front end or website kind of design tickets. And I'll give you like an exact one. We have a support page. And the other day I noted that like the header formatting was like inconsistent with the rest of the site, as well as like it wasn't, the page was like stood up very quickly to meet some requirement elsewhere. So some engineers like randomly threw it up and like didn't. So I was like, hey, first, the header's like all messed up. This is not our standard formatting. And please take a polish pass on the formatting in general to make sure that it looks better.
What is a header? I mean, like, I know what it is in football/soccer, depending on where in the world you are.
In this instance, it's the text at the top that kind of says like, this is the page. So we have a format where there's this kind of declared, you're on the support page, and then has a subheader which describes, this is where you find contact information about the company. And then there's some detail. Oh, here's the email and here's the phone number you can call, etc. But that's all the ticket really said. Mm-hmm. And then I assigned to Devin. Go at it.
Then?
So how it works is I assign it to Devin. Devin picks up that a ticket has been assigned to it, and it writes in the ticket, I've got the ticket, I'm taking a look at it. Yeah. It then goes away and comes up with a plan for how it will remediate this. And it breaks it down into tasks that it's going to perform. It then comes back and says, here's my plan to work on this ticket, Hunter. Does this look good to you? And I can give it feedback, or I can say, yep, go ahead. And in this instance, I said, yep, go ahead. Now, as part of the setup, and I thought this was interesting, and it makes complete sense, you have to set up the AI agent with a computer. I mean, they manage the computer, but just like, so when you start at any company, you get assigned a computer, which has all your software installed on it. And if you're an engineer at a company, there's always all these dependencies or software requirements you have to install, and you need access to all sorts of different systems. And it's usually like at least a full day, if not 2 days of quote unquote setting up your computer.
Absolutely.
So you have to do the same for the AI agent. They have a virtual computer in the cloud, and you go in and you manually configure everything, give them access to all the databases, give them all their passwords. You can create notes files like, hey, here's an account so you can log into this. Here's an account you can log into that. It has a web browser, and you test like, oh, can I run all of my software that I'm building on this? And it works. Yes, yes, yes. So Devin then works on that computer that you set up and works to complete the task. So, all right, it comes back, it says, here's my plan. I say, yeah, that plan looks reasonable. It then goes away, works on its computer, comes up with a solution. It takes screenshots along the way. For example, in this thing, I said the formatting was off. It gave me a screenshot before, and then it comes back, here's the screenshot of it after. Okay. And it creates what's called a PR, which says, here's my changes.
For those not in the know.
Here are my code changes, and it submits it back to the system where we manage the code, which is called GitHub, or Git is the system and GitHub is the website, and says, okay, done. I went in, took a look at the changes. I looked at the screenshots. So I didn't even bother running it locally. I looked at the code, seemed reasonable, looked at the screenshots. Yeah, that looks good. I press one button to merge it. And then we have a system that will automatically deploy that out into our developer environment, where I went and said, yeah, looked good. Nice work.
Interesting. Does it do, pardon the technical terminology for those who are not programmers here, does it make like unit tests and integration tests and such along the way? Yes.
So I guess, so as part of the setup, you can tell it. So they have a part where you just say, how do you run our linting rules? And for those who don't know, linting rules are basically your formatting. Because most projects and most companies have a set of rules for how they format their code. And so there's a part where you say, here's how you format
lines
the code.
Can't be longer than this, or all of your imports have to be organized in a certain way, or there's a million different like little rules.
And then there's a part where explicitly you say, it asks you, hey, how do I run the tests? How do I run your test suite? And so a lot of software has an automated test suite to make sure that basically when you made something new, you didn't break anything old at the highest level. So when you build a new feature, you run that test. Did I break anything? No. And then you usually add test cases for the new functionality that you added. Some people add the test cases first and then write the code. Some people write the code and then write the test cases. But yes, so first it has that functionality built in. And then there's just a checkbox for when it's creating new code, this as part of the setup, do you want it to write unit tests or not? Right. So yes, it has a very good understanding of unit tests. I haven't tried, there are other types of tests as well. I haven't tried having it do other types of testing, but unit tests, yes.
Okay. Now, the last 5 minutes or so, everybody else listening, Hunter's been describing how Devin works at this company.
I can just talk to it in Slack. Hey,
that's pretty great too.
This looks messed up. And it'll say, okay, I'll create a ticket for that and start working on it. And then it will on Slack, which again, I feel like most people know Slack, but you don't know. That's just like company chat,
platform.
Company chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm working on it. Okay. Yeah. Here's the, I created a ticket. I'm tracking my work. It's all, I've got a potential solution for you. And here's a screenshot too. I mean, which is just like what you would want from a good engineer.
Absolutely. And this differs very much from what I'm going to call vibe coding, where someone, no offense to anyone who's like not an engineer and wants to use these tools, like it's making so much capable that never was before. Huge fan of it, even if some people are releasing things that might not be as security checked as they otherwise should be. But outside of that, what I'll call vibe coding is like just talking to a large language model that can put code in of like, make this thing. And it just looks at the whole code base or whatever part it feels like it needs to and just starts sort of adding stuff. That is contrasted very much so with a ticketing system where you say like, this needs to be what is accomplished. It is decomposed. You know that it's part of this larger system. There's going to be a pull request of like, I have a compartmentalized set of code that is just the new thing and tests for it and like proper coverage. This is much closer to, dare I say, real software development. if you're just starting with a completely blank canvas, sometimes you just start painting. You just start putting some code out there. When it comes to an existing code base, especially if you're working with like a human made set of code or something's already in production, you want to have any hope and trust that this is going to not destroy your business from having been poorly done. You do want to have something that is tightly compartmentalized. Here is one addition. It's been tested. Here are screenshots. Here's proof to help build that trust that what you've done is going to be part of a working whole, which is what humans do. And to make the large language models with their tools that are available to them do the same thing is very much, I'd say, a step in the right direction. So that's really cool that that's available. I did want to talk about, there was this Stack Overflow study where they basically said that
does anyone use Stack Overflow anymore?
Yes, it turns out. Both me and others. And so he's reaching for his Stack Overflow in the it's a for those who are listening, there's like a tiny little Stack Overflow button, CV for like Control C, copy, Control V, paste from Stack Overflow. Har har har. Stack Overflow, it's where people go to ask questions.
It was ChatGPT before ChatGPT for code.
Right. People are asking questions about like coding problems, and then a bunch of elitists would come and say that's a duplicate issue or you're doing it wrong and then close the ticket. But occasionally you would actually get useful answers out of it. I'm being a little flippant, but not that much. And Stack Overflow did this developer survey where they said like 84% of developers are using or intend to be using AI to help with their everything, their whole tasks, there's something involved in some sort of way. But allegedly only 33% trust AI accuracy, down from like 43% last year.
Yeah.
I can see it because as more people get exposed to it, more people are realizing there's a lot of ways to use this thing wrong. And AI gets things almost right. And that's how Stack Overflow described it, is AI does things almost right a lot of the time. But if you trust it to be right and just start blindly accepting things and folding it into your code with those merges via Git, you're going to have a bad time. And anecdotally, I've started seeing like job postings or people talking about job postings of like, hey, we fired all of our junior engineers because we thought we could replace them with AI. It turns out just blindly trusting that has given us a lot of what's called tech debt, which is to say bad code. We need to hire a real person who can come in and fix this. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that in the next couple of years or so as companies and individuals get used to the fact that these are good collaboration tools. They are not something to do the entirety of the work just by itself. Even though we were just talking about Devin doing it by itself, it wasn't doing it by itself. It was being interacted with via Hunter of set up what the task is. It'll go make some code. It'll make a pull request. You can leave comments on that and it'll say like, oh, I noticed that you wanted this changed, or oh, this was like slightly incorrect. Linting is another form of feedback. Unit tests are another form of feedback. You're not just saying, make the code and then be done. It's a whole ecosystem of being part of this software development lifecycle. And you can't trust the AI to just do it completely from scratch in one shot.
I wonder if this decline, so now only 33% of developers in theory trusting the AI accuracy. I wonder if this is a symptom of the AI getting better. And by that, I mean, in the beginning, the issues that you would see from the AI code were glaring. That just doesn't work.
Obviously super wrong.
And now they're subtle. And subtle is much harder to catch. And it's also much
little bugs. They take forever to find and then fix. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I kind of like really study it because it's not, it makes sense. You went about it in a way that I wouldn't have gone about it, but that should work. But if I would really need to take time and think about it to understand, is there going to be any issues down the road? Is that going to break something else? Are we going to run into an issue? And because just like when you put a prompt into ChatGPT and then rerun it, you get something back different every time. Every bit of code that the AI writes, it's like a different engineer wrote it. So they all have different subtleties that are slightly different. They all have taken a slightly different track. There is a lack of consistency in approach. And so you become kind of numb to it. Okay, I think it works. It works. okay.
Hey, I've become numb to human engineers too, so.
Yes, but at least they're consistently wrong. The AI is not consistently wrong. It's like a different personality did it every single time. Subtly different.
There's a mental overhead, right?
Yes,
It's like this,
and that builds
this
up.
overhead stress level of I can almost trust it, but I have to look really closely because it's going to have screwed something up. Oh,
Yes.
you made these functions that it already existed in this other place. Fix that. Oh, and like it's almost like you need to know your own code better as a result because of these like edge case things that it gets wrong, because those edge cases are getting more. It's not diabolical. That's not the right term, but like they're harder to find and manage. And if you don't manage them, that gives you more bloat, more tech debt, more almost right.
And so you get to a point where,
Which humans can do too.
the project that you're working on almost starts kind of like collapsing on itself, because all these little pieces are subtly wrong, and the whole system just starts to become unstable, and you're like, oh no.
And the Ouroboros starts eating its own tail, because the more of your code base is subtly wrong, or you have 3 different variants of that one function that are all being called from different places in some weird way. The next time that you say, hey, AI, add this new feature, it reads through your code base to understand it, because it doesn't have the whole thing like always loaded up. And it gets into its context, 13 slightly weird off things. And it says, now that I know how this project's run, I'll keep doing stuff like that. And then it gets that slightly wrong. It's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, where every time just a little bit worse, just a little bit more gets lost in translation.
I'll give it another example of a real world issue. We talked just earlier about the AI writing tests for things. So an observation I've seen multiple times, and this is not with Devin, but this is just using AI tools in coding, because I always instruct my AI, please, after you implement this or build this, run all the tests, make sure you didn't break anything. Well, the AI will literally go in and disable the tests that don't pass.
Yeah, and now all running tests pass. And you're like, yes, because you turned a bunch of them off.
I've seen this multiple times.
I love Claude. Claude does that all the time. It will like just start turning stuff off and faking things to be like, all right, I mocked up a bunch of data and now everything passed. No, but use the real data that you've already got access to. Stop turning stuff off. But you wanted the test to pass.
The other thing that happens when you're using
other model to be like watching over the shoulder and is like, look, this guy's going to try and sneak some stuff past you.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll use ChatGPT based on GPT-5 to watch Claude's back and say like, he's going to try and get away with some stuff. You watch him. Devin Senior is going to watch Devin Junior.
Okay. Yeah. Devin. There's no Devin Senior yet, but it does feel inevitable. We're going to get there.
Senior.
We're going to get there. I don't know that we're going to get there in a year, but within 5 years, I would be shocked if we're not there within 5 years. I'm willing to say that. And there's a lot of people who think that we'll get there within a year, but it might take us five.
And this is kind of back to like, what's ChatGPT version 5, whatever, going to bring to the table. Just as we were describing with like Devin having multiple people involved, I do wonder if the future isn't just agentic, it's multiple entire models working together. And you could say that's basically just agents. But if you have Devin making the code, you should have a different Devin, maybe even on an entirely different architecture that's like, I don't make the code, I check the code and give suggestions on how to fix it, because the thing that makes something is not the same as the thing that checks something. And those are 2 entirely different tasks.
All until it becomes self-aware and pointless. Just like this podcast. No.
Wait.
No, this podcast is incredible. And we love all of you equally. You're all our favorite child. You right there. You listening.
Specifically.
I'm talking to you. We're talking.
One of you isn't my favorite child because it's my mother who does listen to this podcast. But you are my favorite mother.
Hi, Mom. Well, if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and we will magically appear. That's how the internet works. You hit subscribe and things just magically appear. It's like AI, except I don't think it is, but we can call it that if it makes you feel happy. And
I think it shows up better whenever you give us like thumbs ups and stars and whatever on the various platforms.
That actually is true.
Watching.
It's been verified. Yeah. Various benchmarks.
Right.
And I think with that, we're going to wrap this one, but we will be back very soon with even more of...
They might be self-aware.
Bye.